Update. I'm Jay Owens, the city engineer, and with me is Terry Ward, MNDOT Project Manager for the Red Wing Bridge project. Thanks for tuning in. We have no one in the audience as of yet, but if someone shows up, we get some questions, we'll definitely answer them. I think also you can send in some questions through our Facebook, and we'll definitely answer whatever questions come up. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Terry. He's also got some video and some things to show on what's been happening on the bridge project. There's been a lot of good construction out there, and I think we're on schedule and on budget as of right now, and things are going well. And I'll let Terry kind of fill you in on all that. So.
Yeah, thanks, Jay. So I like to start with safety. If you've watched these before, that's my first agenda item. So last month I mentioned we had one recordable accident. Someone had some grit, if you will, in their eye. It did not cause any lost work time. So I can report as of now we have 2 recordable accidents. We had a worker that had a bee sting. Again, no loss of work time on the project to date, but 2 recordable accidents, fairly minor in nature. So that we'll take that as a positive in terms of our safety record. I got another safety public service announcement. We're working what we call Pier 1 down by the ADM campus and the CP Railroad. Levy Park is open, but the road to our work area is closed. It's a private road, and there's been some people walking through that area while we're working, which is not safe at all. So the public service announcement is, please, you can go to Levy Park and use that area, but don't walk into our work area or try and go through our work area. There's a lot of activity. A
lot of activity, and you get into the work area, and if you're trying to avoid the guys that are working, then you end up on the railroad tracks, which is another safety issue. So please stay out of that area on that gravel road that runs basically from the end of Levy Park down to our wastewater treatment plant.
In terms of the project, Jay mentioned we're on schedule and on budget. We hope that the recent rains don't cause too much of flooding problems for us. We think if there is flooding, it'll be kind of a short-term impact here, but the water could get into our bridge construction area and cause some impacts for us, so we'll hope that doesn't affect us too much. Since last month, the update in terms of traffic, then the river crossing is open as it is planned to be through the whole project. We have not seen much of any traffic impacts since the last month. Traffic, from our perspective, has been flowing across the river very, very well, very, very smoothly. In terms of Highway 61 and the Red Wing community, we really haven't changed traffic patterns at all. So since last month, from a project perspective, we think the traffic impacts have been fairly minor. We're not aware of incidents or accidents or anything like that. So again, we think that's a goal to strive for, that we'll continue to do that. On the Wisconsin side, we continue to work on our bypass for the box culvert in terms of traffic. And then on the Minnesota side, we're close to putting down bituminous paving on the southbound side of Highway 61. And after we get that done, shortly here we'll switch traffic from 61 from single lane each direction on the northbound side to the new southbound, and then we'll start work on that northbound construction. So stay tuned. Relatively soon here, you should see a traffic switch on 61, switching over to the new southbound once we get that paved. In terms of construction then, I'll briefly kind of run through that, and then we got some pictures and video. So on the Wisconsin side, our approach work to grading approach work to the bridge, we started what we call Wick Drain construction. So last month I mentioned, stay tuned, we're going to talk about Wick Drains. So we've started that activity or that operation, and I've got some videos to show you that. But basically now through next March, once we get these Wick Drains in, we'll continue on with our large surcharge or fill on the Wisconsin side. We have approximately 2,000 Wick Drain locations to drill in, so that'll take us a little bit of time. In terms of the river bridge, our goal again was to get up and out of harm's way for any spring flooding impacts. So if I kind of run from the north abutment coming this way, the north abutment, we're doing our last pour on the walls there as we speak. Pier 6, the footing is done. We've pulled our cofferdam, and the next step in the operation will be get some column forms there and pour the pier columns on Pier 6. That should be fairly soon here. Pier 5 is the same condition. The footing is done. The next thing will be to get the column forms up and pour the columns on Pier 5. Pier 4, we hadn't started last month. We have started the cofferdam on Pier 4. We actually have that installed, and as we speak, we're putting in our piling. So Pier 4 is the last bridge foundation substructure on the project that has driven piling on it, or that noisy pile driving operation. So we have 20 pile there that we've started. Once we get those down to bearing and we're done, we, for all practical purposes, should be done pile driving on the complete project, which is good. Pier 3, our footing is done. We're working on the pier column, so that one will follow in terms of the column work. It'll follow Piers 5 and 6. And then Pier 2, which is the one out in the middle of the river, we haven't been able to get started on that one because we've been waiting for a permit amendment from the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. We're going to build a little mini causeway and a wooden trestle to get out to the middle of the river. And the good news is yesterday we actually got the amendment from the Corps of Engineers. So we're going to get started real quick here on getting the access built out to Pier 2 so we can get that cofferdam installed and get out of the bottom of the river by next spring. So real good progress on the bridge work on the Wisconsin side. On the Minnesota side, as Jay and I talked about, we started Pier 1. We're working on our cofferdam there. And then in terms of the grading work, I talked about the Highway 61 traffic switch. The button hook in the retaining wall work is coming along nicely. You can really start to see the button hook and the retaining wall number 1 that we're working on there. So some real good progress since last month there. And then up kind of on deck then on the Red Wing side is a temporary bridge. Perhaps by next month we'll start in the field building a temporary bridge over the top of Highway 61 so we can move traffic onto that next spring in April and then tear down the existing bridge over Highway 61. So in the next month or 2 months you might start to see some barrier and minor traffic impacts on the bridge over 61 because we actually have to remove a piece of that to get the new temporary bridge in. But traffic should not be any different from what you've seen so far coming across the river crossing. Jay, anything to add? I'll get some video started.
Yeah, I was going to mention that with all that work in the Minnesota side, we've talked a lot about all our vibration monitoring that we've done, and haven't really talked about it again. But we've got monitors set up, and Terry, correct me if I'm wrong, but we really haven't had any issues with vibrations either in the Barn Bluff area or around the old buildings or anything like that. Is that correct?
Correct. No issues with vibration. It's been real good. The monitors are working. We get reports every day that they're testing themselves. And we had one yesterday off hours at 8 a.m. on their tanks, but there's some internal equipment running there, so the monitors are working very, very well.
Okay, good. Yeah, so go down to the Bluff Street area and kind of see the button hook is taking shape. We've got our utilities relocated. They're, like Terry said, they're paving on 61. So things are happening for sure on the Minnesota side, and they'll be getting into Pier 1 construction as well. So with that, I'll turn it over to Terry, who's got some pictures and maybe some video here of the project to date here.
Yeah, I thought I'd start with some pictures, kind of a look back in time. So this was on the Wisconsin side. As we were just getting started, we hadn't built our causeway yet. The contractor there, Zenith Tech, they've got what we call a ring beam that's for Pier 6, the first cofferdam. So just kind of a look back on where we were earlier this spring as I start to show you some videos of the work. This just gives you a little perspective on where we've come from. So the next one is that same area. We've cleared some trees, as you can see in this picture. Got our floating silt curtain, that yellow device on the right in terms of environmental protection, but we hadn't pushed fill or built that causeway going across there or removed the trees at the campground site over there. And just a couple more. So on the Red Wing side, I thought a picture for Jay and the city about the City Works, Public Works building that was there, and there was a couple houses behind there that we've taken. Again,
that's long gone now.
Yep, long gone. So a view of that site, and then just one more of what we call the Langer property that we have removed in the Button Hook area. So again, just to kind of a little reminisce on where we've been. So let's start with this time with some grading videos. So this one is, I had some people ask me, what are those big piles of black material out there? Well, that was topsoil. So here the contractor's just taking a black dirt or topsoil pile and spreading it on the slopes when we're done grading an area. that's how we finish those slopes off. And we want to preserve or salvage the topsoil so that the contractor, we don't have to pay them to bring in new material. So that's why there's big piles of black dirt around the project. And with the tight corridor, it's always hard to kind of find those locations to stockpile that material. So this one's over on the Wisconsin side on the bypass. The contractor's working on rolling and got some sand coming in, that truck on the right bringing in some sand. You got a backhoe there piling some of the black dirt or topsoil, getting it out of the way. So just an operation of building that bypass. We call it Bypass 3 on the Wisconsin side. This one's what we call retaining wall 1 on the Red Wing side. It's a part of the button hook construction. So we've got our footing for all practical purposes poured. And then I'm going to pan around to the button hook, the tie-in. This is where the button hook will come in across the temporary bridge in that narrow portal on the other side. That's why we have to remove part of that bridge. You see some topsoil piles, some debris still from removal. We got some sprayed material to protect the slopes there, or the ground, and then looking down on where the button hook ties into our new intersection with 61. Just a little panoramic view, if you will, of that area. And I'm down at the new intersection of the button hook and Highway 61. It's getting ready for paving. So the grader there, the dozer, is making some passes here to get that to final grade. And we should be paving that either today or tomorrow within the next day or two here to get ready for the traffic switch. So here we've got the curb and gutter placed. And again, the dozer is kind of fine tuning that or fine grading that, getting ready for the paving operation.
And Terry, next year when you direct traffic, there will be a signal in place.
There will be a signal installed there before we put traffic on it. So this is the dozer or grader, doing that fine grading, and then I'm just going to pan around again on the button hook to kind of see how that comes up and around and ties in. And Jay is 100% correct. Before we open up this button hook to traffic and close down the slip ramp next year in April, we'll have that new signalized intersection up and running on Highway 61. Here's on the Wisconsin side the Wick Drains that we're putting in. This piece of equipment is drilling vertical Wick Drains down roughly 90 feet into the ground. A very, very soft layer of soil that's starts about 20 feet down and goes for about 70 feet. So we'll bring in and we'll surcharge or fill this area, and as we fill this area and provide loading on it, that'll put pressure on the soft soil and actually squeeze water out of it, and the water will come up these vertical Wick Drains, and we have a drain tile system that'll take that out in a way. So this is kind of a neat, simplistic vertical preformed Wick drain system. And you can see if you look at this device up in the air as we kind of pan this, it gives you an idea for how deep those drains are going, because the mandrel, as it goes down, you can see on there it's going down and down and down. So he stops, he's done putting it in, he'll lift that all the way up to the top again and go to the next one. There's 1,976 Wick drain locations that we have to drill these drains into. Gary's in the harder layer there for 20 feet is a little bit harder, struggling a little bit. There. He gets through it. There he goes. There, it gets soft and it goes down almost like butter for the rest of the way. He's in that soft material now, which is again about 70 feet, if you will, to finished elevation of that Wick drain. So this will go on for another week and a half, plus or minus, till we finish that operation. And this just gives you, again, a view of all the flags. Each one of those flags is a location where they drill in one of those vertical Wick drains. We'll build that fill or that surcharge over the winter time, and then let that set for one full year as we squeeze that water out of the soft soil and settle that area out, to make sure as we build that fill, we don't have settlement of the new trunk highway that we build. Okay, so that's the bridge videos for this month, or, excuse me, the grading. So let's turn to the bridge. And in terms of the bridge videos, this is Pier 4, which is our last cofferdam. So here we're putting in the sheeting for the last cofferdam on the Wisconsin side over there, then you can tell that's used sheeting because they pulled it out from another cofferdam. The lower part of that has been down in the mud or so it's the soil, so it's got some dirt on it. But they're just putting in the cofferdam for Pier 4 like they did for Piers 3, 5, and 6 over there, and we're doing right now for Pier 1 on the Red Wing side. Here's our concrete pour on Pier 3. They're pouring the footing. It was about a 175-yard pour. So they're down inside of the cofferdam for Pier 3 doing the footing pour. As you look up, we've got a pump going on. They're actually pumping this from a pump truck. Got the inspection staff overseeing that pour. It went really, really well for our team. Just another view of the pump truck that they brought in. So they can either use their cranes in a bucket or bring in a pump truck to get it down into the pour. And for this one, they chose the pump truck method, obviously. And this was a little bit into the sun, but here's a panoramic view. So if you think back to the picture I showed of before the causeway was pushed out there early on, you can really see the change in what we've done over there with building the causeway and doing the bridge work and all the equipment laid out. I just wanted to show really the dramatic change from that early picture that I showed you. We've got some rebar for one of our pier caps over there, that arching green rebar setup that they formed. We've got a technique shaft or a drilled shaft trial here that we're doing. So a lot of activity going on the Wisconsin side. Here's on the Red Wing side for Pier 1, this is the first installation piece, if you will, of the cofferdam for Pier 1 off of the levee there. So this is that work area we want you to stay out of. And this is the first piling that as part of that installation that was going in the other day. And it went down fairly easy for us. And pardon? Yeah, the question was how far down was that one? The piling for the cofferdam only go down 30 feet. So they're not down to bedrock, but
the cofferdam is the temporary structure to allow to build the main pier, which will then go down to, of course, down to bedrock with the drilled shafts. So.
And then this last one is that work area that I talked about to please stay out of. Just so you can see how congested that is and how much activity and how difficult that would be to even try and walk through when they're working in that area. And please stay out of there when they're not working because of all the equipment and activity. And you can pan back and see the crane. And like Jay mentioned, even I'm going to show that one again, even on the opposite side of that orange fencing, you're in the clearance of the railroad track, or ADM and CP Rail property there, which you're not allowed to be in from a safety perspective.
Correct. Yep. They're moving, their trains around, and we've got the main line track right there. So, yeah, we just want you to stay off of that gravel road there. So
those are the photos and the videos. We'll take some questions or anything else, Jay, if you'd like.
Yeah, before we go to some questions, we've got a couple people in the audience now. I wanted to say some things from the PR side that we've been working on and the outreach. City of Red Wing has set up worked with ADM and set up a time-lapse camera on their facility, on the roof of their lab, and we're getting good pictures of the project, and we're going to be able to put together a really neat end of the project time lapse there to see just what's happened in the last 4 years, over the 4-year period. Also, I've ordered some large boards that we're going to be placing in our park and maybe one in the 3rd Street parking lot, kind of talking about the project. So someone from out of town, tourists down at Levy Park is looking up and seeing construction going on. There'll be a board explaining the project, pictures of it, just kind of some nice, a board that we can, I think it's going to be like 4x8 or something like that, that kind of talks about the project and the project partners. So,
could we get those at the chamber if you were going to do something?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And we'll get that same board, so you have one inside at the chamber as well. So probably not quite as big, but it'll still be good sized. Yep. So that was a question from Patty. With that, I think Terry, you want to highlight some of the things that you've worked out with the chamber as far as some of the tours and give a little bit of a advertisement for that.
Yeah, we've been working with Patty at the chamber, and it's been we had the idea as a team of having some tours sponsored really through the chamber to try and get some interest. So we've got a series of Friday tours starting October 13th, and you can jump on the chamber website and but you need to sign up. And Patty and her team and I and perhaps Jay and others will actually walk you through the job on the Wisconsin side. So we'll meet at the Harbor Bar at their parking lot, and we'll actually walk into the project area and see the actual construction work like we've been showing you on the video. So we're real excited about it, and Patty's done a great job of trying to get the word out on that and get people to sign up. So thank you for that.
Our one on the 13th is almost full already. So we may end up having to add a date during October at some point, and I'll email you that. And then I've got a lot of interest from the school, so they couldn't make it the date that, or you couldn't make it, so we'll work together with you on that one too and try to get some high school students coming.
Okay, sounds good.
So Patty mentioned the chamber tour on the 13th is almost full. So if you're interested, please give them a call or get a hold of them and get signed up, because there's a lot of interest. And if we have 3 of them scheduled, like I mentioned, and if they fill up and there's a lot of interest, we'll perhaps do some more and add on to that agenda.
And we're doing or you got kind of scheduled the next Friday then? Do it the 20th? Another one? Okay.
27th.
27th.
All right, 13th, 20th, and 27th. So get signed up for that. Patty also mentioned there's interest from the schools, so I'm sure Terry will be bringing some high schoolers out there. And I think, didn't you just have a tour with some Dakota County Technical College students?
Yeah, Dakota County Technical College has a civil technology program. So we had 2 tours, one for first-year students and one for second-year students. And it's real exciting for us to get them out and see the construction, and because that's really their bread and butter in terms of their career. And then from selfishly, we hope they come work for us for MNDOT. Yeah. So we're real happy to have.
Or the City of Red Wing.
Or the City of Red Wing, yeah. So we're real happy to have done that, and hopefully help them out in their career, even if it's just a little bit. We're proud to be able to do that.
Good. Here we got a question.
Are you continuing to connect with the tribe?
Terry?
Yeah, the question was, are you continuing to connect with the tribe? And Jay can jump in, but absolutely. And one of the most recent issues, I'll let kind of Jay talk about, is bridge aesthetic lighting. Jay.
Yeah, there was a time we were kind of looking at making some changes to the lighting, and we reached out to the tribal government to check in with them on the impacts for the lighting and so forth. We know the sensitivity of the Barn Bluff area. That's a big reason for our vibration monitoring and our special attention to, we've got a very hard, line there that we're not getting into that bluff area and so forth. So, yes, and when we need to, we do get a hold of the tribal government and make sure that we're treating that area with respect, and that's part of the project documents, to be honest, that we have to do that. I think Terry can mention we've got an archaeological dig starting here behind Red Wing, the Red Wing Shoe, as part of the project as well. So yes, try to keep them involved as much as we need to. So
we worked with them on the groundbreaking event that we had.
Yep.
And see if they had some interest or involvement in that. Those types of things, absolutely.
Anything else you want to add, Terry or Patty? Did you have any questions or anything at all coming up for anyone?
No.
It's
been quiet.
Well, there's a lot of work. Yeah, it's been quiet, a lot of work going on, but it is, as I explained, I think last year at one of our Main Street project meetings, that the bridge project is a huge project, but it probably doesn't have quite the impact of going right down the middle of downtown Red Wing. So it's happening out there. A lot of work's going on, but the good thing is the impacts are minimal, and the traffic's flowing, and we're open for business. Yep.
So just in general, moving forward, the bridge or the river crossing, we expect it to stay similar to as it has been, with traffic flowing across relatively smoothly. Mm-hmm. And so hopefully next month, as we have our update, we'll kind of have no news again is good news in that regard. In terms of Highway 61, we'll have our traffic switch in, and perhaps by our next monthly update, we might actually have that completed, both directions there. So by winter time, even moving forward, we'll have the bridge crossing, a single lane each direction, like it's been, one lane each direction. We should have 61 fairly well open in terms of that, and then the next thing will be next spring when we actually shut down the slip ramp. I want to reiterate, next spring in April, we're shutting down the slip ramp and putting the button hook in new intersection in service, so that if that has any business impacts in terms of they want to get the word out for routing or want to meet with us and talk about that or anything, it's a good time to maybe start those discussions.
Yeah, that's when we'll really have the impacts at the Red Wing Shoe next to the Armory, the Marie's restaurant area, and Knut's and Carmel's will be on that road, 3rd Street next year is the heavy work there and the closure. So we'll definitely be talking directly with them. Anity's Closet is right there, and so access to those businesses, and we've got discussions to have with them, but things are on schedule and on budget, and we'll report back again next month. Thanks for tuning in.